the journey up to this point isn't wrong. It's brought you to this point. What is perfect right now may not be perfect a week from now. And that's okay. You got to continue to check in with yourself. That's part of your own process. That's part of you getting clouded by other people's energies. Take a breath. Lean in. This point is an intersection for you to go in and reinvent yourself. And that's what you're so great at, being able to take them on that path of reinvention. And by doing that, you can create a really beautiful path of how you're meant to fulfill your soul's calling, truly live out your purpose. There's this inner knowingness that's like, you're the queen that you always knew you were, and people are going to be naturally drawn to you.
This moment, right now, is where doubt meets destiny. Have you ever stood at the crossroads of your own life, wondering if every challenge was a sign that you were meant for more or even less? I'm Jill Collins, and today we're going to answer the question that echoes in the minds of so many women. Are you designed to succeed or fail? Together with human design specialist Katie Carlson, we're going to deep dive into your own life's blueprint with practical insights that can transform your midlife journey. So are you ready to face the truth? Join us as we discover whether we were designed to fail or succeed. Well, hey, Katie, I'm so glad to have you here today. How are you doing?
I'm fantastical. How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm without power right now, but I am making it. It's amazing what we can do with technology.
Yes, it's destiny.
It is destiny for sure. Well, let's dive right in. I wanted to ask you first, something I've noticed is that many women in midlife, start to feel invisible. It's like their best years are supposedly like behind them. And I felt a little bit like that at times, but I'm curious, as a human design expert, and we're going to go into that, is how can human design help someone flip the script and show them that midlife is really not the end of the road, but possibly the most exciting new chapter of their lives? And how can they rediscover and reinvent themselves? How does human design work for that? Is that something that's possible?
Yeah. So I love this. And this is such a power, like I literally have chills as you were just like, give me that question, because it is such a powerful way to understand really what's going on energetically within you. Because I know, when women are reaching that point in their life where, yeah, they maybe not felt seen, they're not necessarily feeling heard, they may have lost a little bit of their own confidence, right? Through whatever, right? Life's going to happen to you. And one thing I will say, like the brass tacks when you look at human design was what it gives people is it gives people validation. It gives people this validation of like what they know deep down in their truth, their soul, right? What they know in their soul, but yet they may not have been able to articulate into words just quite yet. I think a lot of women probably feel that kind of like inner desire that's like something is burning to like come out, right? There's like there's a change that's like brewing within them. And what I found with human design is that it really gives the women this permission to be themselves and own their inner confidence that they deep down know that is there, but they may not be able to like fully bring forth in the external world. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. And I know I want you to explain to us exactly what human design is, because not everyone who's watching may know. I
Yes.
know I did one with you a few years ago. I did the human designs test, and then you worked with me on this, and you put together an incredible report that we went through over a couple of hours. And it just opened up so much for me where I was able to see just it was kind of like you said, it's a confirmation of something I kind of always intuitively knew. But that at times I was thinking, "Oh, I can't say that. I can't think
Yeah.
that. That's me. I don't know. I don't wanna be too, whatever." But I realized things about myself that I didn't know. So tell
Yeah.
tell us what human design is and how it works.
Yes. Okay. So what is human design at like the brass tacks? So human design is this system that brings in ancient wisdom, the I Ching, the Kabbalah, the chakra system, and Western astrology. And it basically brings forth and it gives you this output. So most anybody can go out and get a free chart. They can go pull their chart however they want. There's so many different sites, that you can go to get your chart. But I always tell people, go talk to someone that knows what they're talking about. Because if you try to interpret this yourself, you're gonna be like, what are all these shapes? What are all these colors? Like, what does all this mean? Like, I don't know, what is all this? Right? Because
So
I had to
true,
look.
because I did that on my own. I remember somebody sent me a link and I went, "Okay." That's cool. It
No.
looks like skeleton kind of, and you're just all these numbers and lines going around, and you're like, "What does all this mean?" And then someone said, "Oh, get the book," and it's like I heard it's this big, and I'm like, "I don't do books like that. I'm
Yeah.
not a learner that way." So
Yeah.
came in ran across you, and we'd known each other for so long, and I said, "I didn't know you did that, so you helped me with it."
Yeah. It's so fun. So it
Really
definitely
fun.
go talk to someone that knows what they're doing. But what it really does is it gives you, I like to look at it as like it's a blueprint of your energy. How and it's based on the time and place in which you were born. Now, when I work with my clients and groups, I always like to say I'm half woo, half do, right? So like I bring in the spiritual components, but I also want to give you the practical knowledge that how you can apply these certain concepts so that it works more specifically to you. Now, so when we look at human design, it brings in these different systems, right? And it's solely based on the time and place in which you were born. So if you know your birth time and if you don't know your exact birth time, there's ways of which you can, talk to someone and we can figure it out through kind of the ballpark era. Um, and we can work with you on that. But I say this because one of the gifts that this gives you is that you start to understand how your energy is made up. What activates your energy, what depletes your energy, where you're meant to fulfill your life's purpose in this world. How this is why I think when I talked to you, I was like, Jill, you're the reinvention queen, right? How many times have you reinvented yourself? Like literally, this is in her design, people. Like literally, this was in her design. And I was like, you're the reinvention queen. Like you have this ability to take someone, right? And whatever capacity that they are in or wherever they are and reinvent themselves in a place. And it's like it brings them onto this, I don't want to say pedestal, but it takes them on like in a completely new trajectory of their life that they didn't even know was possible or feel like that was possible. And you have this literally a tailored approach to do this in a way that will support other people doing just that, reinventing themselves. I mean, that's
Mhm.
really what you're meant to do here. And you do it through many different ways. And I'm not going to go into like the deep down dirt nitty gritty of your chart, but the biggest gift that it gives people is it gives people an understanding of what they've known deep down in their heart and in their soul. But it literally brings words. It brings practicality to how to show up best energetically for your family, for your business, in your
Mm.
relationship, in all different aspects of your life. And it's such a powerful tool. I mean, there's so many different ways that we can go with it.
Well, you just covered exactly what I was gonna ask next is about how do we rediscover ourselves through human design and midlife, and I think we were talking before we in the green room, the virtual green room, before we started about relationships, and how, our relationships dynamics were always evolving, right? Things are changing. We could, especially in midlife, we may be divorced, we may have, like for me, lost a spouse. How can we help how does human design help us actually strengthen our connections, and particularly with a spouse or significant other? We can start there, and then maybe next we'll talk about parenting and as well as kids grow up and how do we change as the dynamics change there.
So this is really fun. So, and I literally again I have chills again as I talk about this because I love talking about human design. So when we think about relationships, and if we look at human design as a way to understand your own energy, and I try to say this in the best possible way, and I'm saying this in a non-codependent way. But in Jerry Maguire at the door when she's like, "You complete me," that whole or no, not
Yeah.
he's saying it like, "You complete me." When we look at human design and you start to pull your chart and you see that you've got shapes that are colored in and you've got lines that are maybe, all the way colored in and maybe half colored in, or we call those hanging gates. But there you'll see that there's different energy moving throughout your chart. Well, when we interact with people in any day life, like when we come into contact with other people, a lot of times what's happening is we're like, you may have encountered someone at some point in your life where it's like, whoa, like I just feel connected to you in a very weird way. And I don't know why. And it doesn't have to be like, sexual or anything like that, but you've just found this like really powerful connection. And you're like, I don't even know where this comes from. I don't even know what this is. And a lot of times we feel it, but we don't know how to articulate it. So a lot of times what you can do, and I've done this with many of my clients, but you can take your human design chart and you can actually overlap it with a business partner, with a relationship, with whatever. And you can overlap these charts to start to see how did these energies work together. So a lot of times when I'm like first working with a couple, they'll usually come to me when they're not necessarily in the best state, or their things are not as flowing as beautifully as they would like. And a lot of times what I'll do is I'll look at their charts first and foremost to see where they overlap. Because a lot of times what happens is that they just have like some energy that the other partner, perhaps their energy maybe is more dominant, or maybe the other partner has more dominant energy in a certain way. And when you can start to see the bigger picture of how this actually supports both of you can start to have a better understanding. It's a greater perspective of like, oh, you know, like, so I'll give you an example. I was just doing a call where a couple, um, they had a overlapping chart, which was 7 and 2. And this means that 7 of their shapes within the human design chart were overlapping, which means that they have like direct energy, access to that energy. And then they had 2 open centers, 7 and 2. And so in human design, we like to say 7 and 2 work to do. And that's a good thing because we always want to keep growing and always want to allow ourselves to grow and evolve. And one of the challenges that can come with that is that if our energy gets bottled up or gets scrunched up, and this can happen just by going out into the world. This can be like just by bumping into other people's energies. How many times have you been in a relationship with someone and you may have just gotten triggered really quickly about something, and normally that would never bother you, but you found yourself really triggered, and it's like, I don't even know why. Well, you may be taking on someone else's energy that you don't even know about. So there's different ways of understanding how this energy moves and how you can support each other in truly optimizing your own energy. And so when we look at these charts, when they come together, one may have a particular channel that is completely defined. So that means that one of the centers is connected to the other center by a full line. And, most people have at least one of these in their chart, unless they're a reflector, but I won't even go into that.
Very rare, the reflector, right?
Very, very rare, like less than 1%. Sandra Bullock is a reflector, actually. Fun fact. Um, but you have a definition. And so, like, say, for instance, the 4323, the genius to freak channel. This is someone that is able to synthesize information very, very easily that they've brought into their vortex, and they can spit it out through their mouth. Like, so they're great talkers, they're great communicators, and they're able to get this out. Now, if someone that they're in relationship to, let's say in an intimate relationship, has maybe just the 23, or maybe just has the 43 gate activated, they may feel overpowered by their partner in certain instances. And at the same time, they also could feel very activated by their partner because they can leverage some of their energy by that full connection. Does this make sense?
Yeah,
Without
yeah, it does.
the details of it? So, but understanding that, then you can start to say, okay, like, hey, I'm going to honor and respect your 4323 Genius to Freak channel, that you've got a lot to say based on your synthesis and based on what you're bringing in. That doesn't mean that I don't have lots to say. It's just like understanding that their energy is channeled differently than yours. So it is such a powerful tool when, even if you're looking at the different types within human design, or within like even going down as granular as, what gates are activated and how you guys come together in that regard. It's such a powerful tool once you start to know and recognize, how is my energy best utilized? How does my energy best show up in this relationship? And how are we able to come together in such a way to honor and respect each other's energy and bring our own energy, our collective energy, up a notch?
Wow. And I know everyone now is listening is saying, okay, how do I find out about this? And I'm going to put all the links below. You'll have them all below here in the description to reach Katie and to find out and to work with her to get the report, to do the test, and it's all below. So definitely check it out. She's amazing. But yeah, it's so interesting. I was thinking to myself, actually someone I dated a while back was I'm a 4/6,
Mhm.
and they were also a 4/6, but I'm a generator, and they were not a manifesting generator or a generator. What's the other one?
A manifester?
No, not a manifester. There's another one.
Projector.
Projector. He was a projector. And I thought, oh, 4/6, is that good? And I'm like, well, maybe not. So just knowing that.
That actually so when we look at profile, so when we say 4-6, that's your profile. So there's 5 energetic types. There's generator, then there's the manifester, and then the 3rd type is a blend between the generator and the manifester. It's a manifesting generator. The 4th type is a projector, and the 5th type, super small percentage, is a reflector. Now, just I'll give you kind of like a brief little synopsis of each of them really quickly. The generator, really big energy. Me and Jill, we're both generators. People are naturally drawn into our energies, naturally drawn into our vortex. So it's going to be really important for generators to respond to the energy that comes to them. Like, we're not here to initiate. We're really, truly here to respond to the energy that comes to you. Then that doesn't mean that like you can't be, forthcoming or, um, you know, put yourself in a position, but it's like truly responding to the energy. Like if you get an insight or a download or a hit based on being in a certain atmosphere or an environment, it's like, ooh, pay attention to that. You're in response to that. So like really leaning into that response is super powerful. And generators' energy, when their energy is in alignment, they're going to experience satisfaction. It's all about feeling satisfied. And this could be as small as like going and getting a cup of coffee. I don't drink coffee, but like there's something about having a latte made for me with cinnamon on top at a coffee shop that just puts me into satisfaction very quickly. And that brings me back into alignment. And when generators' energy is out of alignment, they'll ultimate like their first response is to lean into frustration. And doesn't mean they don't get angry or bitter or disappointed or anything like that, but it's just like their initial response is going to be frustration. Manifestors, on the flip side of this, they have very different energy. It's kind of like Moses in the Red Sea. Like they have this ability to kind of like part the energy. It's a very powerful like initiator energy. Um, they're meant to initiate things. They're meant to like bring ideas into the fold. They're meant to pave their own way, carve their own path, like move forward in that sort of way. And manifestors and generators, I mean, we're all meant to work together in this world. Manifestors, when their energy is in full alignment, they're going to experience this inner peace. Powerful. It's really, really powerful. When their energy is out of alignment, they're going to experience anger. Like their first initial response is going to be to go to anger. And so I always tell my manifestors, like, whenever you feel angry, like, how can you lean into peace? Like, whatever that means for you, like, lean into peace and then allow that to unfold as is. The next type is the bridge between the two. So it's the manifesting generator. Manifesting generators have this ability to collapse time very, very quickly. They can move through things very quickly. Tony Robbins is a manifesting generator. Manifesting generators oftentimes it's like they know a lot of little things. It's like a mile wide and an inch deep. Like they don't really go super deep on a lot of things, but they'll bring in experts to certain things, kind of like what Tony does, but they can move through things very, very quickly. At the same token, as they move through things very quickly, they can also, make some mistakes and have opportunities to grow through in that process, in that part. The other beauty of a manifesting generator is it has this inner when its energy's alignment, they're going to feel satisfied and peace. Like it's kind of a mixture of satisfaction and peace. And then when their energy's out of alignment, it's like that frustration as well as anger. The 4th type is a projector. Now, projectors have their energy is very much in front of the body. So when you're around a projector, it can feel, especially for generators, it can feel very like almost like it's a lot. Like it kind of feels like there's a lot happening here. Like it's a lot. It can feel like it's a lot. But understanding and appreciating the projector for being who they are, like they can provide such wisdom and guidance because the projectors have this ability to see above the fray. They have this really powerful vision of seeing the bigger picture. And when projectors' energy, like they're not here to initiate. They're truly here to be invited from an invitation. So like when projectors project before being invited to, like a conversation or like an opinion on anything, it will not land and they'll get really bitter because they're not being heard or they're not being seen. Projectors need to be recognized in a certain way. And when they speak before they've been invited, they're going to get really, really bitter. Another key piece about all of this, the only type that is meant to work, I know I say this with a caveat, long hours, is the generator. But the generator has to be lit up by what they're doing. If they're not lit up by what they're doing, they're actually depleting their battery pack. If you're doing things that you love, you're actually charging your battery. So, and generators have to be really smart about this. So all the other types, manifestors, manifesting generators, projectors, and reflectors, they're not meant to work long hours. They're meant to work in cycles. They're meant to work like a couple hours on, couple hours off, couple hours on, couple hours off. Now, that doesn't mean the generators can't work like that. It's just a different thing. Then the last type, the fifth type, the reflector, less than 1% of the population, but reflectors truly reflect the energy of their surroundings. So they act as mirrors for us. And when reflectors' energy is in alignment, they're going to experience this element of surprise. It's like, wow, like this, almost like this awestruck, like they're just going to live in this state of awe. When their energy is out of alignment, they're going to experience like disappointment. And they're just going to feel there's kind of like this, I'm disappointed in certain things. Not that it's wrong, but it's like there's this feeling of disappointment. So when we look at those different types and how those different energy types play along with each other, we all need each other. But it's how do you start to channel your energy in a way that's going to best give you your optimal energy to show up as you in the best light that you possibly can, and doing or being in the best, putting yourself in the situations that are going to be most beneficial for your own energy. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes total sense, and I'm just thinking everyone, have a pen and paper, and if you probably wanna mark this spot or a little bit before this and go take the test and then come back, and you can get a little bit of insight before you reach out to Katie if you wanna get some tips, because right now this may be like, "What is all this?" Go take the test, then come back and rewind and get to that part where she just explained the different types because it's so fascinating. I just love this so much. It's just opened up so much for me. Because I think we even talk about, like, when we're trying to figure out what to do with our lives and our careers, so many people, we met during the pandemic, I think during COVID, and we were, doing a lot of Tony Robbins things together online. And it was kind of like, well, what do we do? And so many people were just trying to we were just kind of like stepping back and going, am I doing what I want to do? Or maybe some people lost their jobs or their companies went under or whatever. And so we had this opportunity to really reinvent ourselves and say, and sometimes even if everything's going well, because I am the reinvention queen, I love to ask myself, huh, do I still like what I'm doing? Why am I doing it this way? Or do I need to be doing this differently? And so what is it that human design can offer someone career wise, or as we're sitting here in midlife, maybe having these moments of like I was saying, like a fork in the road? What is it that human design can show us about what kind of career or purpose or mission we should be on?
This is one of the things that I love working with my clients on, is really understanding what is their soul's purpose. Now, again, guys, there's many different tools out there. Human design is a tool. I want to continue to preface this with a caveat. It is one tool. It is not, the end all be all, but it is the end all be all for me when I start to look at what the transformations that can happen with my clients and my teams that I work with. Now, within human design, everyone's going to have an incarnation cross. And our incarnation cross is directly tied to the purpose, our soul's purpose of why we incarnated into this earth. What does that mean for you? Now, there's a lot. There's hundreds of incarnation crosses depending on where you're born, and lots of different variables there. So two people can have the same incarnation cross, but very different life purposes. And it's really about how you understand how your energy is different within your chart, because not all charts are going to be the same unless you're a twin, legitimately. And I have worked with twins before, which is funny, because they do have similar charts, but then there's environment that plays a part in that. But then there's certain areas actually in your chart that speak to your business. If you wanted to create a business, or if you wanted to be an entrepreneur, if you're best going to thrive as an entrepreneur, or if you're best going to thrive in a partnership, or maybe working with a team or a small group of people, there's different ways in which we can start to see based on your design, how your profile. So your profile, you mentioned this, your 4-6. The profile is the energies in which we interact with the world, how we best show up in the world. And there's 6 different lines in what we call a profile, but they're 2 combined. So there could be a 1-3, a 4-6, 2-4, 6-2, 3-6, 6-3, 4-1. There's many different combinations of them, but they all bring a different type of energy. And depending on that, plus your type, you can start to see some patterns, right? You can start to recognize patterns. And then you take that with your incarnation cross, what your soul's calling, what is you're meant to do here. You can create a really beautiful path of how you're meant to fulfill your soul's calling. right? Really, truly live out your purpose. And I will tell you this, when I work with my clients and I'm talking to them and they're like, you're saying things that like, I feel like I've known deep down, but I didn't know how to articulate it. And by saying this, right, it brings light to it. And if we bring light to something, we're bringing awareness to it. And then having that awareness, it's like, okay, what do you do with that now? Right? You take intentional action that is from an aligned place. Are you satisfied? Are you peaceful? Right? Are you feeling success? I forgot to mention that. Projectors, when their energy is in alignment, they experience success. It's all about success for them.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so taking intentional action from an aligned place can make such a complete difference in how, you move through your business or move through your life or move whatever you're going through. If you're experiencing it, that you want a change of career, change up, through looking at your chart, we can look at this and say, oh, okay, your energy is going to be much more aligned here. Go test that out. And then how does your strategy, right, to respond, to initiate, to be invited, to reflect the energy, like how can that energy support you in making those decisions, right? And then how can you make the correct decision that's in alignment with you? So we all have what's called an authority. And there's 9 different authorities, and I won't go through all of them, but like I'm a sacral authority. I think you are too.
Right. Let me look. I have my report up. Let me
Yeah,
check.
you are too.
I am sacral.
Yeah. So the sacral authority is very much like knowing it. It's like this intuitive hit in your gut. And it's like feeling it in your gut. I'll give you an example of this. My first house that I bought by myself, it went on the market that morning. I was the first person to see it. I walked in the door. As soon as I walked in the door, I was like, yep. I hadn't even seen the house yet, guys. I walk in the door, I was like, yep, this is it. Like, this is it. Guys, I put an offer on the house. 45 minutes later, it was done. Like nobody else, there were like 10 other showings that day. I bought it for list price, literally. Um, and I mean, but I knew I had this like sacral hit. I just knew, like, you just have this instantaneous like knowingness. Now, like,
Oh, yeah. I have to say, because that same thing happened to me with a condo I bought. Like I looked at 30 minutes at a little chart, made the process, do the, from the woo to do, and doing is like, okay, do the part. Okay, this looks good. And then I made the offer in 45 minutes. I bought a condo, and I think what happens with us is that, oh, go ahead and finish your thought. Cause I want to say, I think sometimes we talk ourselves out of this and we need to trust our intuition. So we'll go to that in a minute, put a pin in that, but please continue what you were saying.
that's part of it, is so like recognizing that like when we get these intuitive hits as a sacral authority, listen to them. Now, that doesn't mean that, and this is where I will lose people, is they'll be like, well, but I felt that in the now, but I don't feel that again. That's okay. Hear what I said. That is okay. What is now right, like what is perfect right now may not be perfect a week from now. And that's okay. You got to continue to check in with yourself, right? Recognize that's okay. Most people think of it as like, oh no, like, you know, I was second guessing myself. I'm doing this, doing that. And you go back on yourself. And hey, that's part of your own process. It's part of you getting clouded by other people's energies. Take a breath, lean in, and literally think about it. And this is the other big thing. I always tell this to you. So my fiance is an emotional authority. So 50% of the population is emotional authority. Emotional authority, they're not meant to make decisions in the now. They're meant to kind of ride the wave. Now, you can imagine if you're in partnership with someone that makes decisions in the now, right? Like, yeah. And then you're in a partnership with someone that needs to ride the wave, right? It can be a little bit, if you're a generator, a little frustrating at times because it's like, oh my gosh, get to it. Like, get there faster. For all my people that love Friends out there, like, get there faster, right?
Yeah.
It's a thing. And so what I've had to do in the process of that, and what he does for me, is I recognize, hey, I ask him, are you in the wave? And they'll be like, yeah. And I'm like, okay. And he's like, are you not? And I'm like, well, so this is the key about sacral authorities.
Okay.
Sacral authorities need someone to ask them a question. So
Right.
but it needs to be like even if you're trying to get to like a specific answer, like, okay, so like, what do you want for dinner tonight? Do you want Chinese or, Thai? Right? Don't even ask it like that. Be like, "Do you want Chinese?" And you'll feel in your gut like you'll feel like a uh-huh or almost
Uh-huh.
urge. "Oh, do you want
Yeah.
Thai?" And you can say like, or uh-huh, right? And it could be either no, no, then you try again for something else. So I'll have my partner, I'll be like, "Hey, ask me a yes, no question about whatever you're trying to get me to answer. Like, come up with a yes, no, because if you do, then I can feel into my gut a little bit better." Where sacral authorities get tripped up is when you give us too many options. If you give us too many options, it's really hard for us to narrow it down. So
Oh,
you really
you're
just
talking my language. That happens to me all the time, especially in today's world when there's so many things coming at us. It's just I never felt overwhelmed like this before, and now it's like always feeling overwhelmed, and I think a lot of people in midlife are feeling that too. We get the brain fog in the morning, like, "What's happening? Is it this? Is it midlife? Is it hormones?" And it's like, no, it's just a lot of stuff sometimes. If you're sacral, yeah, it's overwhelming. I need, like, give me a specific thing.
yeah,
I do work well, I always yeah, I was great as a secretary and executive assistant back when I was 19 because I was great at emptying an inbox. It was so clear what I had to do. There was no question. It was like, "Yep, did that, check that off the list." But when someone says, "Oh, I wanna create something. Let's create, a website. Let's create a business. Let's do something that's creative." And I'm like, "Huh?" Like,
so there's a
somebody else
large
can
yeah, there's a large portion of that that kinda happens with generators. Generators feel really satisfied when we can check the box.
oh,
Check
yeah.
the box on things, like, we feel I mean, it brings a level of satisfaction, and I know it does for you, but it also does for me that it's like, "Ah!" Like, it's amazing. It's absolutely incredible. At the same token, right, when you're in a relationship with someone that maybe is in a I mean, and splenic authority is very similar to sacral authority, but emotional authority, they gotta ride the wave. So, having patience, like, recognizing that they're not wrong, because they can't make a decision like we can, like them, and that's okay, right? But you gotta acknowledge that. Be like, "Oh," because you can find yourself like, "Oh, come on, like, make a decision." Like, and then you say to them, and you're like, "Come on, like, get there faster." Oh, well, I'm gonna appreciate your ability to work through this, right? Your ability to work through this emotion and then land when it's best for you. Now, little caveat, if you're an emotional authority and you're a generator or a manifesting generator, you still have that sacral kind of intuition. You may get tossed up in a little bit of the emotion. So it's about feeling into your emotion, but then also like leaning into the that like gut response, like that sacral response. So
Well,
yeah.
I love this, and I know people are gonna wanna come back and watch this after they do their test and they work with you because it's a lot of this is probably unless you know about human design, you're probably going, "I don't know what all this means." But, again, you have an opportunity to watch it again. But, I wanna dive in a little bit more too about in general about human design is, a lot of times we're facing things like change and we're making decisions, and we did say that thing about putting a pin in it, is, I've learned over the past several years now that about my intuition. You've taught me that, and others is how powerful that is. And when I get that, I remember I'll never forget when you first told me that, and and you'll actually sometimes find yourself. You said you'll find yourself saying it out loud,
Mhm.
and I'll vocalize it when I'm like, even if nobody's here, it's like, do I want water? Uh, and I'm like talking to myself, or things will just blurt out of my mouth, and so I know it before I even know it here. And
Yeah.
I think what I've observed about myself, in fact, our dear friend Preston Brown once said to me, "Jill, I can literally see your intuition kick in when you decide something, and then your brain starts to talk yourself out of it." And I'm wondering, like, how does human design help us to really learn to trust our intuition and deal with making decisions about things and knowing because we're all different. I know all these different types are different. But
Mhm.
is human design something that's going to show us how to have an assurance or a certainty because we all want some level of certainty, I think, that hey,
100%.
we made the right decision. How do we know that we made the right decision
Yeah,
ultimately?
so it's really like and it's kinda similar to, like, muscle testing, when you think about it, like, when you're actually like, if people are familiar with muscle testing, but if you're not familiar with muscle testing, it gives you so each design is gonna be different. Even if you're both generators or you're a manifestor, projector, reflector, like, manifesting generator, it doesn't matter. But there's certain things that we can see in your design of how you're meant to make decisions. So again, we talked about sacral authority, but if you're a sacral authority and you have an open head, you're gonna constantly go into, like, these ideas and these thoughts, and they may start to get loud, right? Get louder than your sacral authority. And so it's like, how do you start to notice that and say, okay, you know what? I acknowledge you. Thank you for being there. Thank you for bringing this to light for me. And I actually have this inner knowingness within myself now. And I have that certainty. So we all have different authorities. That's why I told you, like, there's 9 different authorities in human design. And again, they're dependent on type and different things of that, what are activated in your chart. But you can start to see the pathway of how to make the best decision for you. And it really starts with, again, at the end of the day, it starts with leaning into you energetically. So if you're a generator, how can you start to feel satisfied? And this, it can be as simple, Jill, as like, and I started doing this because, like, when you're in personal development, I think there's so many tools, there's so many tips and tricks and strategies. Sorry, my little uh, hanger thing's falling off my shirt. Um, when you start to look in personal development, there's so many different tools and tips and tricks and strategies. And it's like, where do you even begin? Right? Like,
Yeah.
where do you start? There's so much. So then one of the things that I've been doing, and again, once I learned about human design and really started living this, as I was like, okay, when I start to sense the overwhelm, when I start to sense all the things that are swirling around me, okay, how can I come back into satisfaction? One of the things that I do now is every morning I literally go through, what are the top 3 things? Top 3 things that I want to accomplish today. And it can be as simple as, I want to be on my rebounder for 10 minutes. I want to, I want to get an email sequence, completed, or one email of the email sequence completed. I want to call, a friend that I haven't heard from in a long time. Like, whatever it is, like small little things, literally writing it down and then checking it off. As a generator, we love checking things off. Check it off. You can live in that, like, satisfaction. Another thing for me, I don't drink coffee, you guys, but going to a coffee shop and having a coffee, like a latte prepared for me, like a coconut milk or an almond milk latte with cinnamon on top. There's something that brings me such satisfaction in that can reset my entire energy. And my hallucination is that there's things like that for all of you guys out there. And this can be, it's like for a projector. Like, and it's funny, I work with a lot of projectors. And projectors, they need generators because we're the battery, especially in business. Projectors really need generators in business. And here's the thing, generators really need a projector in business because projectors really have this wonderful ability of seeing the bigger picture in the system.
Well,
But seeing how they come together is really the special sauce. But I'll say this, for projectors, it's like, okay, how can you lean into success? Now, as a generator, when I think about success, I'd be like, well, getting all my check marks off and, all these different things. Success for a projector could be like, I got up and worked for 2 hours today. I got out of bed. Like, it can be as simple as that because projectors' energy is so, like, I wouldn't say it's dependent, but it really kind of is because they don't have an energy center within their, and I'm getting way too granular about this, but projectors don't actually have an active battery pack, which is why they need to rest. Like, they work much better in rest. So they'll work a couple hours on, couple hours off, couple hours on, couple hours off. I'll tell you this, a joint friend, Gerald Rogers. He's a projector. He's a projector. Energy very much forward in the body, projects outward, maybe even when he's not invited, but he has a beautiful voice, has a great message to share, with a lot of people. And it's going to land much more when he's invited to speak about something. When you ask him, like, hey, I have a question, rather than him like preaching out to you. And he knows this. I've talked to him about it. We're very open about this. The other piece is, like, how can projectors lean into success? How can manifestors lean into peace? What is that for you? One of my beautiful manifesting friends, she does 10 minutes of Master Code meditation every single day, no matter what. And she's on, like, I don't know, she's in it for like 1,600 days straight, like years we're talking, which is crazy.
wow.
But it gives her that peace. And you just leaning into those little things, you can start to bring your energy to an aligned place. And then, okay, how do you make that decision? Bring that decision to me, because you don't want to make it from a frustrated, angry, bitter, disappointed place.
Keep thinking about all these things you're saying with this is like knowing this. Just I'm going to the very basic part to start is how if someone works 2 hours a day or they are not like like I'm a generator. So it's like I can work till, either it's hard to get me going sometimes, but when I'm going, I am like in it. Like I'm also have ADHD. So it's like they say people with ADD or ADHD, they can be uh, super distracted and hyper focused at the same time. I
Yeah.
love that line. And
I'm that way too, and I think it's a
yeah,
generator.
it must be because it's like I can be totally like in it and 4 hours go by and I'm like, oh, I think I have to go to the bathroom.
Yeah.
And everybody's walking by and I'm just like, oh, I'm in it. But then I can also go, oh, what was that? I gotta go do something over here. And so there's a lot of broken down cars on the side of the road in my life, but like things that I've started and I don't finish.
Yeah.
I've learned to be okay with that, because I've also learned to realize that I think sometimes we're not meant to do it, and those are usually things that I've forced that are not in my space or my wheelhouse, and so I probably didn't need to start them anyway. So, or it's okay that they just didn't happen. But when we know that about somebody, like the guy that I told you that I dated, who was a projector, he was
Yeah.
a 2 hour day. I mean, he worked a regular job full time, but he also had, he learned that about himself and said, wow, I'm so excited because now I understand why I don't, just generate or constantly can just keep going. So when we understand that about another person or even in our kid with our kids, right? Is as kids are transitioning, all of our kids are going to be different. So if you can't treat one size doesn't fit all, right? So there's probably a way to communicate differently with each one and understanding your children's human design and
Yes.
not only your and even probably people you work with, friends, people you really associate with, where there have to be some kind of a way to negotiate or to strategize in life. I think this is so key. And I love that you said this because I've talked to others that do human design too. And I think it's so vital to find out about how we can either pick partners or better understand partners in relationships. So this is fantastic.
It is, and I'll from like a parenting perspective, one of the best things, like, just to give you an example.
Yes.
I'm a 1-3. So what does this mean? A 1 typically is all about, like, let's bring the foundations. We gotta have the foundations. Let's build from the foundations. We are investigators. We go deep down rabbit holes. Like, we are gonna just know all the ins and outs and how things work and how, like, all the ins and outs of everything, right? Again, I went deep down the rabbit hole in human design. Not shocking. Um, the 3 line in my chart is all about experiencing trial and error. And it's like the phoenix. It's like the phoenix that rises from the ashes. The 3 line, and here's the thing. If you have a 6 line in your profile, the first 30 years of your life, you lived as a 3 line. And you'll always kind of have a little bit of the 3 line in you because you also have the 6 line. The 3 line literally will burn things down and then restart and then burn something down because it's like, I'm done, I'm cut it off, I'm done, and I'm gonna rebuild it back up. The 3 line learns through trial and error. So a lot of times the 3rd line has had to learn through what many or maybe parents or society has said is a mistake. A mistake to a child is like the most detrimental thing that you can say to a kid. Like, you screwed up. You're not right. You're not
Oh
right.
yeah.
Because 3 lines, we learn through the contrast of learning through the experience. So what can parents say if you have a 6 line, if you have a child with a 6 line or a 3 line in their chart, when they maybe have done something or acted out of character that you maybe not have enjoyed? Rather than telling them you're wrong, this is like, and that which brings around shame, and there's a whole lot of emotions that can get trapped in the energy with that. I'm not going to go that space, but just saying, what did you learn from this? And give them the floor. Just ask them, what did they learn? Because it's through those learnings that they're able to elevate their own and process their energy. So, as someone, my family, I would say my dad was kind of into personal development a little bit. Like, he was into like Zig Ziglar, and he had his business. He was a dentist. And so, like, he's always been inspired by certain things, but he was never really into personal development. My mom, not into it at all. I get into it. I'm like the only one in my immediate, I would say, like, out of the siblings and the parental,
Yeah.
right? Penta, in that immediate family unit. My parents, and again, love them, not that they're wrong at all. I had to learn that there's another way, right? Rather than making the child wrong, had my parents just said, what did you learn from this? What can you take away from this? What were the consequences? What did you learn from this? Literally, that's it. It can make a massive difference. The other thing I will say for parents that have a manifestor child, manifestors as children, they need space. They're gonna basically eat, sleep, and poop. That's really what they do. But they kind of have their own pathway of doing things. And I wouldn't say that they're loners because they can be social when they desire to be, but they're going to initiate a new path. And so giving them the space and the, should I say, freedom to be who they are and love them anyway is going to be really important. Now, guys, all parents are amateurs. So there's always we all get to learn through this, and I don't blame my parents for anything. I love my parents. I'm grateful for it. But if you're a parent, if you're a parent and you're curious about human design and you want to understand a little bit more about your kids as they're growing up, the profile is one of the greatest tools within your human design chart that you can start to understand how best to support your children through conflict, through dealing with their emotions, how to grow up and be a substantial individual, right? How to make decisions on their own, not needing, other people's approval and validation. There's so much, we could go and talk for hours on just the evolution of how human design could support in familial relationships. And then when you look in interpersonal relationships, business or intimate relationships, it's funny. My fiance, I actually didn't look at his human design. Out of all the men that I've dated over the years, I would always pull their chart pretty quickly. And this one, oh, it's just interesting because I didn't. And then we had a little conflict. It was one evening and it was kind of silly. And I don't even remember exactly what it was. But the next day, we had been together for probably, I don't know, a couple months at this point. I pulled his chart and I looked at it and I was like, oh my gosh. Because in his chart, he's a 6-2 manifesting generator, emotional authority. And his incarnation cross is the left angle cross of, I can't remember if it's conflict or tension. It's one of those. It's either tension or conflict. And within that cross is all about the need for control over certain things. And it's not in a domineering way. It's in a way to providing certainty through leadership. And me just reading that, I was like, oh my gosh. So I went to him and I was like, hey, babe, I just want to let you know, it was not my intention to come at you with what I did. I don't remember exactly what it was. I was like, I see this now. I see this in your chart. And I was like, now that I know this, I'm like, have at it. Go for it. You do you, boo. I'm not gonna try to change this, and it creates this level of respect and understanding, I think. Because, he with me, because I told him, I was like, babe, I learned through trial and error. So I'm gonna try something on. This is we could not be more different in a lot of the things. He's super introverted, I'm extroverted. He if he's gonna go do something or build something, it's gonna take him hours. I can work through things very quickly. I will work through things quickly. It may not be right. I'll maybe make a couple mistakes and I'll correct it. And then I'll make a couple mistakes and I'll correct it, but I'll get it done pretty quickly. It may take him 5 hours, but he's going to do it once and it's going to be perfect.
Wow.
So learning these things about the other person, I was like, I'm choosing to build a life with you and to live a life with you. If I let this, the fact that you need to ride the wave for your decision makings and that you process and you move a little more methodically through things than I do, because he's a 6-2, which means he's kind of has this role model genius. That if he has this, I'm like, and he's going to be really particular about these certain things, I got to learn to love this about him. And I do. I love it. He had to clean his office before my family came in town for the holidays. And I'm just sitting there and I'm like, when is this going to get cleaned up? When is this going to get cleaned? When is this going to get cleaned up? And I'm just like, bite your tongue, bite your tongue, bite your tongue. You can do this, Katie. And lo and behold, I knew it would get done. But it took an entire week before it was all cleaned up. But it's done well. It's done really well. Whereas in me, I'd be like, okay, I'm going to put this here. I'm going to put it in this box in this bin. And I'll just, when I get that bin out, like I'll just get the bin out and then I'll start digging through it. And it doesn't mean that his way's right or my way's wrong or my way's right and his way's wrong. It has nothing to do with that. It's just an understanding. And it gives you a perspective of like, okay, I am going to learn to love and appreciate our differences in relationship so that it brings a much beautiful, it like just brings a lot more harmony and a foundational way of like, okay, we can grow. We can grow this relationship because we always have that level of respect and understanding for the other person's differences.
I'm blown away because I'm thinking this is really good for people dating and in relationship, and you're selecting people because I think what I'm hearing is that human design can actually help us prevent conflict. Because how many conflicts and how have we ended relationships or long-term relationships or anything, or turned somebody away because maybe we just didn't understand their pattern, their style, who they are.
Yeah.
Wow, that's mind-blowing. That could be the case.
Yeah. And I think it's also about understanding too. Cause like, and I think for me at least, and I'm a little bit later in life to get married for the first time. And he's a little bit, this is his first marriage too. And you know, we didn't settle for reasons, right? We came together for other reasons, but we also were choosing each other each day. Does it mean that he's perfect and I'm perfect? Absolutely not. And we talked about this. I'm like, I don't try to be perfect. I'm not after perfection. Like that's not about it to me. To me, it's about the journey that we can grow, like go on together. And we respect each other enough in that honoring of that journey, like the ups and downs, the ebbs and flows, that we're gonna move through it. And I'll tell you this, like, we do a thing called relationship check-in every single Sunday.
Yeah,
Every
yeah, title. Yes, I love
and
that.
unbelievable because it gives us this space and this foundation to really appreciate each other for like the small things. Like it's like the small things. And sometimes it'll last 30, 45 minutes, maybe an hour. Sometimes it'll go 3 hours. It doesn't know. I think I give you a link for people if they want to download like kind of the process for it. But it's been a life changer for us. And like anytime we like have conflict or maybe we have a differencing of a viewpoint or a differencing in opinion, it's not like pots and pans and knock down dragouts and we're gonna get upset with each other. It's like, okay, like let's talk about this. Like,
Yeah, you're actually having I did this and I learned about this a few years ago with a partner and we did this and I actually done video on this before, is that it's so cool because you're literally like tabling something and then you have this moment to address. First of all, I don't know how you do yours, but it's you say what you're grateful for the person, something that went well this week, and then if there were any challenges and you talk about a challenge and it's an opportunity to kind of Monday morning quarterback it. You're kind of actually saying and looking at it in
yeah,
a lab, like you're
yeah,
almost like, let's look at this pen. Why is it there's kind of it doesn't write very well, does it? What can we do to make this pen write better?
yeah.
Versus like, you freaking pen, you can't write. What's going on with you? Why can't you write? And so it's like in the moment, you can table it and say, let's bring that up on Sunday. And I think
Yeah.
that is cool because then you have a chance if you can sit with it. If you can't, and you need to do it sooner. But I think it's always important to kind of have that moment where you're looking at it objectively, kind of in a with an with not emotion without emotion, and trying to strategize and figure out how we can solve the situation without being emotional and all dramatic about it. So that's
It's
how
like
you do.
yeah, so we do it's a little different. It's like we do three things we really appreciate about the other person from the previous week. And then and each person goes, and it's usually more than three, but at least three. Because again, you're stacking the good, right? You're stacking the
Oh,
foundation.
start with the good first, always.
Not about the socks on the floor. It's not about this and that and the other. Like, it's really not. So stack the good. What do you really appreciate? Like, for instance, I mean, and I do it in my notes. So like I can remember each week and I can kind of like look back and stuff. And so like, it could be like, "Oh my gosh, like, he unloaded the dishwasher." Like, "Oh my gosh, that was so amazing." "Oh, when you held space for me just to, like, unload my verbaria the other day, just to, like, get some of my feelings out, like, it just meant a lot to me for you to be able to hold that space and, like, hold the trash can and not try to fix it, like, but just be there for me and, like, just let me know that everything's gonna be okay." And literally, like, I mean, the amount of connection and intimacy that comes from these conversations is, like, magical. And I told you this before we started recording, like the chemistry and the polarity that he and I still have, like, and it's like going strong, is unbelievable because we continue to reinforce all the good, right? Yeah, we're gonna have challenges. Everybody's gonna be met with stuff, but we're able to like move through it. So we did the three things, and then we talk about what are the opportunities to grow through. And so he goes, I go, we share what those are, and then we talk about what are the intentions for the next week. And literally, we've been doing this. I mean, for
So
over a year. It's been absolutely incredible,
it's
life
really
changing.
powerful. Everybody should do that in relationship. I totally agree with you. I love that so much that you do that. And thank you for that link and for
And
sharing
if
your
you're
ebook.
dating and you get into this relationship check-in thing, when you're dating, right, you're kind of going through the interview process, be like, hey, like relationships are really important to me and I'm committed to this. And there's the thing, and like I said this to him. I was like, I do this, and I've done this with a couple other, you know, male relationships that I've been in. And I said, like, this is a non-negotiable for me.
Yeah.
Like, like this is something, and he loves it. He loves it. It's an opportunity for him to like, I don't know, we just connect and it's incredible. Like,
Yeah, and I think, and maybe I'm being a little bit extreme, and maybe not everybody's going to agree with me on this, but I think if a guy isn't willing to do it, and you might want to ask yourself why not, or ask him. I would say because it's like, what do you don't want to talk about how we're doing?
yeah,
That's somebody who's not a committer and who's not a long termer. Now, that if you're not looking for a long term committed relationship, that's going to be a life partner, then that's different. But if that's what you're in it to win it and you really want to go all in like Katie has and like I want to someday again, is that, yeah, you got to find somebody that's really committed to wanting to, um, you know, check in and just and communicate on things.
yeah,
And not just avoid because they feel like they don't want to do it because they think they're gonna get in trouble or it's an opportunity for you to unleash on them, and it's not that. And so I think we have to be clear on how we communicate what it is too and do it in the proper way that Katie's showing in the link that she shared with us. So thank you for that. I have another question about stress and self-care because I know there's a lot of talk in the past several years, like all of a sudden this word self-care has come up, right? And what is that exactly? And I think people, women especially, in midlife, it's like we're learning to take care of ourselves now. We've taken care of everyone else, and now it's time to like, what do I want to do? Who do I want to? I always say, who do you want to be when you grow up?
yeah,
Time is now. So, like, how do we consider ourselves first? One of the things I noticed in human design when I was looking at some of the things that they mention is, and you've taught me this, is environments that we that are best for us based on our design or on our type, right? So, when can you can go into more detail, but I know there's a one for where we eat, places that we work, where we live. Can you elaborate on some of those things too?
yes.
So I get excited
So
about
this is
checking.
yeah, this is really fun. So I will say in most of the free charts, and I don't know if I gave you my link for the free chart, but it's just highenergykc.com/free chart. Um,
At it.
you can get um it'll pull actually the environments, but most of the time in in like if you go to a free chart, they normally don't share the environments or the cognition, digestion, all that kind of stuff. But there's different components. So when you get really down deep into understanding the components of the inner infrastructure of your own design, you can go down to the granular detail of like what kind of environments do you thrive best at, and we can start looking at from a business perspective, like what kind of business environments is going to help you market yourself, all that kind of stuff. So one of the things that, and again, that like been really beneficial for me. So I'll just give you an example from me, and then I'll share yours. So me in my environments is mountains, and there's two different variables. There's two different types of mountains. There's uh, in oh my gosh, I just draw a blank. It's mountains. Um, There's an A. Now I can't remember the word, but there's two different types of mountains. Active, yeah, active and passive. I'm passive mountains and then active mountains. So if you have a mountains as your environment, what this means is that doesn't necessarily mean that you need to live in the environment, like in the mountains, but there is a level of perspective that you get when you're in the mountains. So like for me, I'm passive, and most people that are passive mountains, they actually do really well living in the mountains. I lived in Denver for a long time. I'm in a place where there are not a lot of mountains anymore. So I'm finding different ways to elevate myself. I'm like, my office is on the second floor of the house. Like, I'm finding different ways to be elevated. Mountains is all about elevating yourself, and also elevating, not in like an egoist way, but it's like, how can I look at something from above the fray, right? See the bigger picture from above the fray. There's caves. Caves is a really interesting one. Caves is all about like understanding your own environment. Like, and most people that have caves environments are going to be very, um, they're going to be homebodies. A lot of times people with caves are going to be homebodies. They're going to be very particular about who comes in and out of their space, but their space is super, super important to them, and like how it's designed or made up, in terms of caves. And if you're, I always tell this like business owners, for people that are business owners in caves, you got to have a seductive way, not be as available as a lot of other people. Like, be more seductive in your marketing. For people with, I think what's your environment, Jill? I think what are you?
I was looking to see, I have your report. I was looking at it. I don't see environment here, but I think it was one of the older reports you may have done. You
Okay.
have, I know you said something about nature for me, but you said desk work, business realm.
Yeah.
Is that
So I'm just
realm
gonna,
or because I was looking at, yeah, I didn't see
so,
that. And
so
I'm
you,
not a real nature person, so that's why I was that was the only thing on your report that I went, I don't know if that's me.
oh, because of
Um,
your prosperity, because your prosperity. Um, Natural is, it's about your own power. Like, so you have this ability to, um, like your natural power, when you are in your aligned energy is going to be it's just going to be very prosperous. So when your energy is more aligned, it's like second nature to you. Like, you're going to have connections coming to you when you're like, where did this even come from? Like, how does this it's
happens to me a
become
lot.
so flowing and natural. Um, and it can be through connecting in nature or through a natural way of connection, like with someone else that's coming into your vortex. The other piece I will say, because I did see that your environment is markets. Markets is all about, and there's external and internal. External markets is all about being in a place where there's exchange happening, right? Or an exchange of communication, information. It's all about um, like almost like bringing people together in a certain place, but there's a lot of comings and goings, right? It's like people, like from a business perspective, I always say, like, if you have markets, it's a like, as an entrepreneur, it'd be really important to have like different ways in which people can um like process payments through you. So like that could be like an eBay store or an Etsy store or I don't know, some different ways to bring in exchange, different ways of like bringing um, commerce together. So like having different offers, like multiple offers. That's a big thing when I look at people with markets environment. And I may have not gone into that with you that long ago, because that was a long time ago. I feel
We
like,
did like 21 or something, or
yeah,
2020.
yeah. So like that was a while ago. So yeah, I mean, I've kind of revamped the process of kind of those charts and whatnot. But um, yeah, I mean, there's fascinating things when you can sort of even just like looking at, yeah, like how do you digest? Like, what's the best way for you to digest food? Like, I'm gonna look at your chart. I don't know what I said for you.
Yeah, I think I have it in another place. It was low
Um,
sound,
Low
which I
sound.
end up sound, and I end up doing like things like I will multitask when I eat. It's like I'm watching TV, I'm probably playing a game, I'm doing something, all these different things at one time, taking notes. I could be talking to somebody. I mean, it's just because that's just my constant
Yeah,
brain running. So the low
yeah.
sound, I don't do that very much. That
Okay.
digest that may be an improvement for me to digest my food better. I mean,
Yes. So it is linked to digestion, but it's like, how do you simulate? How do you allow certain things to simulate? So like, even if you just put on a little bit of like classical music, or just like some sort of like 528 or some sort of frequency music while it's playing in the background will help. I'll even just allow your energy to kind of move through certain things, like your low sound. There was also another, I'm going to look at your chart.
Because you have me. I know I'm a 4-6. That's the start, which is an opportunist role model. And which one? I know you said at one point that there's the first number is how people see you, and the second one is how you see yourself. Or is it the other way around?
The way around. So, yeah. So the first one is really like it's kind of like what people are like they can consciously see that with it. You it's like you're this natural connector, like able to kind of like be this resource for people, like bringing people and so that's what the 4 is. The 4 and again, it doesn't mean that they have to be in like multiple communities, but it's like I'm going to be I'm going to be a resource in a particular community and I'm going to trust and honor like everyone in that community. And so it's really about kind of not that it's like the center of the community, but it's like having this level of trust with a community and you have this ability to bring resources to support that community. And people see that about you. People know that you're a connector, that you're going to be able to like if they have a thing or like they need to bring something, you're going to be able to like bring them a solution or connect them with someone.
That's clear.
This
Yeah. Well,
this next line is much more it's more like the subconscious. So it's like, and the if as a 6, like I think I mentioned this prior, 6 lines live their life in 3 stages. The first 30 years, very much trial and error, up and down, like learn what not to do by learn what to do by learning what not to do, like very much like trial and error. The second like 20-ish years is very reflective and it's like, okay, how can I own my craft? How can I like bring this together? How can I really come up and like be the person that like that I'm meant to be? And then when you get to 50, it's kind of like this new era. Yeah. This like cocoon. Just I think because I talked to you before this, I think, right? It was like before.
yeah.
And the new era starts to open. And it's like this natural magnetism is gonna happen. And there's like this inner knowingness that's like you're the queen that you always knew you were. And people are gonna be naturally drawn to you. Does that make
Yeah.
sense?
It totally does. It's before, I think it's Reverend Michael Beckwith says this so well in his stages of I can't remember what he calls it, transformation. And the first one is to me, which is like our need to like we play kind of victim, or it's like I've got it. And then the second phase is by me, which is where we're actually creating and we're doing things, we're creating this opportunity. So that's to me like making the mistakes, like things are always happening to me. I'm creating things and they're not working. I mean, I was always like, I don't listen to what anybody says because I know better, when I was younger. Totally true. Then it was like the next through that was like now it was I'm going to control, I'm going to make this stuff happen. And
Yeah.
now third phase he talks about is through me, which
Mhm.
is things are actually just happening through me, and we're actually releasing the need to control
Mhm.
and allowing things to happen.
Yeah.
And then there's the fourth one, which is really cool. And this is all dynamic. He says that things we can some days in some areas be a victim and something go like, damn it, this is always happening to me. And that's not to mean that we've failed or anything, but it's the fourth one is as me. And as me is a very spiritual thing, but it's sort of as if we are living it. We are one with God, with love. We are just there's no separation at all. And so I'm seeing that a lot in my life lately, but really that through me is so powerful. And I think that some might define it in the less maybe outside of spirituality is more of when you get to 50, you stop caring about what people think. That's kind of a very easy way to say it. I don't say that that's what it is for me, but
Yeah.
it can
Well,
look that way.
again,
It can look
ownership,
like
it's like
you stop worrying about what people think, or you stop judging myself. Like, "Hey, guess what? There's nothing wrong with me." And by the way, everyone watching, there's nothing wrong with you either. That's the big ha-ha that everybody has to get here is that it's so true. There's nothing wrong with us. There's
sure.
nothing wrong and there's nowhere to get. Like, you got it. You can create it right now, whatever you want. And that's why
Yeah.
I'm bringing human design and Katie Day because I just find this work so fascinating. It may not be for everyone, but I love that you actually watch this through to the end almost here and that you're willing to see what's possible for yourself. That this is a tool that you can try and you can look at and you can take Katie's free test. And if you want to work with her, you can reach out to her and do that. Because I think it's such a great element to be able to find out more about yourself and how to communicate with others and maybe to avoid some of the things that a lot of us have been conflicted with in other people is that we just assume it's them, it's not me. And it always is us actually. But it's how do we relate with someone else and how can we most effectively and with joy and peace and
Mhm.
satisfaction. Feel
Yeah.
good about being in partnership or relationship or connecting with other people. How do I can actually have joy in the work that we're doing? And if we don't like our work, how can we find out through human design what it is we want to do with our lives?
Yeah.
This is something Katie does so masterfully, is being able to say, hey, you know what? You're not wrong. Maybe what
Yeah.
you're in, I can see why this has not been satisfying for you because boy, look at what you're doing. You're isolating yourself. You're a generator and you have to be out in front of people, whatever it may be. This is your opportunity to check it out. So I definitely watch this again, go take the test. You can check through and see what some of the things we talked about and
Yeah.
see what you come up with and give Katie a call. She'd love to talk to you.
World is your oyster, guys. I mean, we'd never like literally the things that we can open up just by understanding our own energy is it's literally I always say this, but it's like pure magic, right? Your soul gets elevated to a new level, and it's the level that you didn't know you needed to get to. I mean, it's powerful, and it's comforting, and it's juicy, and it's there's so much beauty in it. There's so much beauty in it.
I think it's that friction. It's just it's being in flow versus
Yeah.
forcing.
Yeah.
There's no friction, and I and I think a lot of us and going back a little bit what I just said already, but in personal development, those of us who've been in personal development for a long time, it's that a lot of times it's a great thing. It's a great place to be because we get so energized, we get so focused and clear on what it is we need to do and how to take action. And then there's that next step after we've been forcing and pushing and figuring out how to do it. And it's like, gosh, I'm exhausted. Oh, isn't there an easier way? And there is an easier way. It's yes, doing and the wooing. I just
Real how
it's
true.
the wooing. It's the wooing because really this part of it, it sounds crazy that your birth date, the time you were born, where you were born, how could that possibly be? But we're in an energy field and this is how it works. And I'm telling you, at first when I heard about it, I'm going like, I don't know. And then when you sent that report and we did the report, I went, holy shit, she's reading my mail. I mean, I was
Yeah.
like, this is I can't deny it. I can't deny it.
Yeah, once you, like, learn a little bit about it, you can't unlearn about it, but it is good to give refreshers, like, there's little things and, I continue to learn through human design every day, and then we didn't really even talk about the gene keys, but how the gene keys, like, correspond within the human design, and the way I look at it is, like, human design, like, lays the foundation for you, it kinda gives you the structure, it's like the masculine part of this kind of energetic work, and it gives you the ability to identify certain components within your chart, and then you look at gene keys, and gene keys is like the feminine, and it's like, I'm gonna give you this, um, all this information to then now contemplate, and it's what do you do with it? How is it, like, through the process of that contemplation, how are you able to elevate your own energy and to make it to that energetic standpoint where you're meant to thrive, right? Where it's meant to be easy. And here's the thing, I don't mean I say easy in the sense of like, it doesn't mean that there's not going to be work, right? It's not going to be hard, but there's a level of alignment that you can bring to your own self that makes the, like the challenging moments a little less, right? A little more doable. And you do that from an aligned place, the inner strength that is developed through that, you can't put a price tag on it. I mean, it's invaluable. And knowing your worth through that process is everything.
Yeah, it's very freeing and you get really a sense of release and um self-acceptance when you get to it's kind of like you get your own roadmap of yourself of like how am I well it's I call it design, it's your design, it's your roadmap, it's who you are and like you said we intuitively know it and then we get to kind of look at it and go, "Phew, it's like that's me." And then it answers a lot of questions that we may not have always known about or had been clear on and now we have a lot of more certainty about who we are. And I'm glad you brought up gene keys too, because one thing that I love about you is that you are one of the few, if maybe the only, I don't know this, but that you actually, when your work, you use both of these together. And we didn't go into gene keys, but we maybe can on another call sometime or another video. But this is like, it's basically you're blending two things together to really make it more comprehensive, which is really unique. So I like the way you described it. Like one's more of the masculine side, the other side's more feminine. So they kind of complement each other very well.
Yeah, and it truly activates certain energies within you. Like that's part of the reason like most people don't even realize they're like, 'Cause there a lot of times when I do these debriefs or, like, I'm working with a client, they're like, "How do you know this? Like, this is like, are you looking through a crystal ball?" And I do have to preface this. A lot of what I'm doing when I'm looking at someone's chart is a lot of my channel. Like, I've cleared a path because I have a lot of openness in my chart. So, I mean, I've done thousands of these charts at this point. So that's why when I have to go back and I have a library of my clients' charts because I know certain things I will not remember about your charts because I've read so many, at this point. And so when I'm channeling a lot more of this information, being able to activate these different energies in you, it's important for you to then go home and just kind of like take a minute and like let this all settle in. And then you get to decide, how does this impact you moving forward? How do you get to make your life of choice moving forward? I'm going to choose to manifest whatever it is, right? This or something better. You have a much clearer path of getting there. And I love what you said about acceptance because I truly believe that what human design has delivered so much for my clients is this being like, they're not wrong, right? Like, they're not wrong. Like, the journey that they've been on up to this point isn't wrong. It's brought you to this point. And this point is an intersection for you to go in and reinvent yourself. And that's what you're so great at, right? And being able to take them on that path of reinvention. And by doing that, live more aligned.
Yeah, it's so true. It's so true. It's just one of the many tools, and I think this is just one of the most impactful that I've had in my life that I've used uh, it since I've started on this journey. And so I'm grateful to you for showing me this and for sharing with my audience about
Yeah.
human design because I think so many of us really need to know about it. And so thank you for this today. It's been a
So
real
it
pleasure.
was fun. So fun.
You again. And thanks everyone for watching today. I think Katie and I, we talked it beforehand. Maybe we'll do another one on relationships and dating. I think that would be fun too. So stay tuned and let us know. Put comments in the chat. Let us know what you liked about this. If you want to answer questions, Katie can and I can jump in and answer your questions. And definitely reach Katie and her social media and all the links below. And definitely give us a subscribe, subscribe so we can get other amazing guests here and we'll have more followers and just join the community because it's super fun. And we do a lot of cool things here so at Jill Collins Connections. So excited to have you here. All right. Thanks, everyone. Have a great day and be amazing.